Now, what do you think when you hear the names Collingwood and Eddie McGuire? Do you roll your eyes, or you think something totally different? Well, regardless of the emotions that those two names stir, both are intrinsically entwined. They're institutions, and Eddie has become a larger-than-life character. And just as they have become cultural phenomena over the years, the past 22 years have seen one man's legacy run Australia's most famous sporting club and turn it into a multi-million-dollar business. And it's not just a case of what Eddie has done for Collingwood, but also a case of what he's done for the entire football industry. That's the real prowess of this man called Eddie McGuire. That's his unique understanding of how to spread the benefits to create a healthy industry. But yesterday, we saw the end of an era. We saw the demise of Eddie McGuire, the infallible. McGuire, the icon, the visionary, the boy from Broady, the man with the Midas touch, the consummate media professional, became a victim of his own circumstance. It wasn't a pleasant sight. He became a casualty trying to address Collingwood's sins of the past and the present. He lost out trying to address the club's cultural and social failings over the years and to move Collingwood forward and to allow it to become a place of inclusion and acceptance. That was Collingwood's problem. Now, it's a problem that most AFL clubs or major sporting codes suffer from, and many remain equally as guilty, but they still won't act to do something about it. Eddie's desire to actually address the criticism, the racism, the failure of decency, and to change the systematic racism inherent at the club saw the king dethroned. The controversy that has long shrouded Collingwood and the allegations by former player Editorial of racism became McGuire's Achilles heel. But for Eddie to do what he did, we need to also add he was courageous. It was courageous because it required real conviction, a determination by someone to actually bring about change. An admission that Collingwood was not the place that it should be, and that he, as president, could have done so much better. Now, it has to be better, and drastic changes are certainly required. And Eddie knew that he was in for a rough ride. And if you're as polarising a figure as McGuire is or can be, then his detractors were lining up just waiting to sink the boot in. And they didn't miss. They certainly got their money's worth. Self-admission is a great thing when you recognise your shortcomings and actually work to improve them. And it's quite something else when you don't. Now, Eddie wasn't that. He did act. And that's what happens when you try to implement change. Things can happen. Pandora's box was opened, and closing it again was very likely impossible. And so it proved to be. So, what of Eddie? Eddie McGuire is a defining character. Love him or hate him, he's a man of purpose. Whatever Eddie does, he gives it his all and has done for so many years. It's a total commitment. That's Eddie McGuire's nature. That's McGuire the man. It's Eddie McGuire the professional. People are judged by their actions and words these days, and both have to match. And as much as Eddie has made a number of gaffes over the years, errors of judgment he certainly wasn't proud of, people need to know that Eddie's actions didn't marry with his gaffes. You see, Eddie is and has been a humanitarian. Just ask the Salvos. Major Brendan Nottle told us a story when he approached McGuire several years ago as the club's chaplain for assistance to feed the homeless. McGuire said, no, we can do so much better. He not only came to the party, but the Collingwood Club went on to purchase more than 50 homes over the next 20 years that now house more than 100 homeless people. That's the sort of stuff we didn't hear about until only recently. But that's what defines Eddie. They're the ideals that have driven him and that have motivated him. Yes, McGuire can be and is a larrikin, and he's shown it. especially with his range of gaffes that landed him in trouble over the years. But when McGuire held his press conference last week to address the leaked report into racism, it turned out to be an IED, that is an improvised explosive device. And McGuire inexplicably happened to run over it with his, "This is a proud and historic day for Collingwood." He was right, it was a proud and historic day, but he certainly failed to explain why it was. He should have said, "Today marks the beginning of a new Collingwood, a more inclusive, accepting Collingwood, one that will shed the transgressions of the past and become a more tolerant, accepting football club." The trouble was he didn't say that. It was a mistake that he will long regret. But I want to take a moment to say thank you, Eddie, for your legacy and for everything you've done in the name of football.